You refuse to be transparent with Congress regarding your interactions with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. That's the investigation we started last Congress. Finally, your lack of responsiveness to this committee's legitimate oversight continues to be unacceptable. And I want to finish here. In February, the committee made multiple requests for documents to the Securities Exchange Commission. This is normal congressional oversight. Yet 7 months later, the committee has not received a single non-public document that was not part of a FOIA production. As I said, our patience is wearing thin. The SEC is not above the law, nor is it unique. Other financial regulators have routinely complied with congressional oversight. So let me be clear. I do not want to be the first chairman of this committee to issue a subpoena to the Securities Exchange Commission. And you should not want to be the first SEC chair to receive a congressional subpoena. Either we find a path forward where the SEC recognizes Congress as a co-equal branch of government and is responsive to our oversight duties, or my option is to issue a subpoena. It's time for you to consider the lasting consequences of your actions, and what that means to the Securities Exchange Commission's reputation long term. While your time in this role may be temporary, the repercussions for your actions may be permanent for the agency. I yield back.
What's up and welcome back. You know, they say when you're on the hot seat, the burns can last a lifetime. And the other night, the hot seat was in Congress and Gary Gensler was feeling the heat. We got a lot to cover. Let's get it. All right, let's get it started here. Just in full letter to the SEC, and this was on September 26th and addressed to Chairman Gensler. It included Representatives Mike Flood, Tom Emmer, Richie Torres, and Wiley Nickel, and they claim the SEC continuously is discriminated against spot Bitcoin ETFs. And then we have this from Representative Warren Davidson. Gary Gensler must be held accountable. And then if you guys look at the tweet here, throughout his tenure, Gary Gensler has blatantly ignored Congress, be it when considering rulemakings or responding to lawmakers' oversight requests. Republicans continue to bring long overdue accountability to Gensler's SEC. Republicans are holding SEC Chair Gensler accountable, and they even went so far as to say, all right, let's bring in subpoenas, or maybe we should just fire this guy. He went further. Gensler's failures are many. That's why I introduced the SEC Stabilization Act to fire Gary Gensler. He'll see you in the hearing, and we've got so much of the hearing to get to. It was honestly out of line in some regards, hilarious, but let's get to it. And we're going to go ahead and get it started here with the GOP Majority Whip, Tom Emmer, totally crushes Gary Gensler. Here's one quote: "It cannot be understated. A common theme throughout your career, sir, is your relentless loyalty to the largest financial institutions at the clear expense of innovation, competition, and everyday Americans." Let's roll the clip.
Chair Gensler, I have a series of questions that require a yes or no answer, and in the interest of my limited time, I'd appreciate it if you would comply with that. Mr. Gensler, is it fair to say generally that large institutions in any given industry benefit more from regulatory uncertainty than everyday market participants or smaller institutions who don't have the scale or the capital to fund expensive compliance teams?
Large institutions could benefit from uncertainty.
Reclaiming my time. The answer is yes, sir. Mr. Gensler, you had an 18-year career at Goldman Sachs where you were partner and co-head of finance, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And is it correct to say that you made most of your personal wealth directly through your employment at this bank, Goldman Sachs?
I've done well since then, too, sir.
I'll take that as a yes as well. You described the SEC under your leadership as the cop on the beat watching out for our constituents, correct?
I think that's a mandate that Congress
Yeah, and I
has
think
given
you've
us.
said that, reclaiming my time. The answer is yes, sir. If you could just comply with what I've asked, I'd appreciate it. But given your 18-year career at one of the biggest banks in the world and the personal financial fortune you amassed there, do you think it's possible for you to serve as an impartial regulator and not favor large financial intermediaries?
Absolutely, sir.
Well, Mr. Gensler, do you believe the vast majority of digital assets meet the investment contract test and are therefore securities operating illegally outside of the U.S. regulatory umbrella?
As I've said, many of these assets are basically the public is anticipating
Sir,
profits
is that a yes?
based on the efforts of others.
Is the answer then yes?
Again, without prejudging anyone, I do think that the significant
Reclaiming my
majority
time.
are
I'll take it as a
investment
yes.
contracts.
And to be clear, sir, this perspective has nothing to do with a concern you noted in a speech last year where you said, quote, Over the past year, several bank executives have shared their concerns with me about the sheer number of depositors who have moved money from their bank accounts into crypto-related exchanges and wallets, end quote. Right?
The concern that those bank executives raised was that there's
Again, I'm reclaiming my time,
customers were
sir.
getting
No,
hurt.
I've asked you to answer the questions as short as I can so I can use the time I have, and it's clear that you would like to avoid answering the questions, in my opinion. An Obama-appointed judge in the Southern District of New York, a bank-friendly jurisdiction where you bring most of your cases, recently found that decentralized financial technology, quote, not only removes the so-called middlemen from these transactions, but it also allows users to interact through a variety of methods in an easy and efficient manner, end quote. The court also said underwriters, like the ones at banks where you work, sir, are, quote, precisely the types of individual roles that decentralized exchanges were designed to eliminate, end quote. Mr. Gensler, can you assure this committee that your style of regulation by harassment towards digital asset innovation is to the benefit of every American and not driven by your desires to protect industry incumbents?
This is a field that's rife with fraud and manipulation, and I'm looking out for the American investors who've been hurt by the crypto.
Yeah. I'll reclaim my
and
time. Mr.
scammers.
Gensler, despite your years of rhetoric, like today, I'm convinced you are not an impartial regulator. Instead, it's clear that you are working to consolidate your own power, even though it means crushing opportunities for everyday Americans and, frankly, the financial future of this country. Even the federal courts are highlighting the damage you, sir, are doing to our constituents, and they're telling you that you don't have the legal authority to accomplish your goal of squashing competition in the financial markets. Congress has been telling you that, too. Now, Mr. Gensler, I believe our great financial system is the definition of freedom in this country. And congressional policies must provide room for the traditional financial system to evolve alongside the disruptive digital asset ecosystem. That said, it cannot be understated that a common theme throughout your career, sir, is your relentless loyalty to the largest financial institutions at the clear expense of innovation, competition, and everyday Americans. I yield back.
I suspect some large financial institutions would not agree with that.
There's no question, sir. I've yielded back my time.
And you think after some of these fiery exchanges that, and after those burns, Gary might retreat. But no, he's like a moth to the congressional flame.
Chairman Gensler, have you ever spoken to Senator Menendez about the Security and Exchange Commission's Director of Enforcement, Gerbera Grual?
No.
On May 20th, 2021, your public calendar notes a call with Senator Menendez. What was discussed during that call, if you can remember?
2 years ago, sir, but if I recall, there was some discussion about possible disclosure by public companies of political contributions.
Well, you hired Mr. Grual as the SEC's Director of Enforcement shortly after that May 20th call. Are you aware of the glowing statement in support that was put out by Senator Menendez praising your hire?
I thank you for letting me know that, but until you told me, or until today.
Well, I'm deeply concerned about this, and I'll be following up with your office with additional questions and expect a written response. Mr. Chairman, I really liked your colorful testimony, and you're right. We are blessed with the largest, most sophisticated, most innovative capital markets in the world, but we cannot take this for granted. Even a gold medalist must keep training. With all due respect, Mr. Chairman, if the U.S. capital markets are a gold medalist, you are the Tanya Harding of securities regulation because you are kneecapping the U.S. capital markets with the avalanche of red tape coming out of your commission.
Oh man, the Tanya Harding, that was hilarious. I haven't heard that name in a... All right, we're not going to age ourselves here, but we got another clip, and this is Representative Wiley Nickel getting SEC Chairman Gensler's comments on the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF court decision, and we've covered this a lot. And let's see what he says about the court decision and the approval of Spot Bitcoin ETFs.
I want to move on to our Grayscale letter. I sent a letter to you yesterday along with my colleagues, Congressman Flood, Torres, and Emmer, urging you to approve the listing of Spot Bitcoin ETPs after your recent loss in court to Grayscale. Now that the SEC has the court's decision in hand, rejecting your rationale for denial, Does the SEC plan to approve the current pending Spot Bitcoin ETF applications?
Thank you for your letter. I did read it last night. Again, we're still taking this under advisement. It's a recent court action, and staff and commissioners will take it up as appropriate.
The court concluded that the SEC's denial of grayscale lacked, quote, a coherent explanation and then, quote unquote, falls short of the standard for reasoned decision making, and then was, quote unquote, arbitrary and capricious. How do you explain the SEC's actions there?
We do that which we do under the law as best we can. Sometimes things go into court. We're still considering that court decision. I think it was a district court. I'm sorry, it was appellate court. It was appellate court, but we're still considering that appellate court decision. And I don't want to get ahead of the staff or my fellow commissioners.
And of course, in typical Gary fashion, he dodges the question. Reminds me of, attempts at dodgeball back in middle school. I could really rip the ball, so if you were trying to dodge, probably equally as ineffective as that. One time I broke this little girl's glasses, though, and I felt like total shit. If you're out there, I'm still sorry for that to this day. Actually threw the ball at a friend. Dude dodges. I see it just go to the back of the gym. Drill this little girl, glasses break. She starts crying. I just walked out of PE straight to the office, went to the principal. I was like, I'm sorry. And he was like, shut the hell up, get back to gym. Jesus, what's wrong with you? And I was like, oh, sweet. I was so used to getting in trouble, I thought I was trying to take the initiative that time. But let's get back to the real shit that matters. And guys, one thing, the dollar is going to zero. It's lost 90% of its purchasing power and beyond since the Federal Reserve was created. And if you guys checked out our episode the other day involving a senator and bribes and corruption, check out this clip. Rabenstein didn't put this together, but if you're looking for any Bitcoin-related gifts, things like that, be sure to just go into gift, type in Rabenstein, and he's got all the good stuff to fit what you need. But this is hilarious, and it fits so perfect. So I'm going to let this play.
We are devaluing American money so rapidly that in America today, you can't even bribe Democrat senators with cash alone. You need to bring gold bars to get the job done, just so that the bribes hold value.
I'm a huge Seinfeld fan, so whoever did that, you're incredible. That was awesome. And we've got another great clip for you guys. This from Thomas at Hey Apollo. All truth passes through 3 stages. And we can see this with Bitcoin. First it was ridiculed. Now we have congressmen demanding a spot Bitcoin ETF approval. I mean, come on, shit's getting crazy. But we have this cycle. First it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. And third, it just is accepted as being self-evident. Talking about back in the day, from ridicule to acceptance, Bitcoin's journey kind of mirrors some of our teenage years, but, what's gold's excuse? Because, guys, Edward Snowden nails it here. He's going to be at the Bitcoin Amsterdam conference, but at the end of the day, gold is just Bitcoin that can't be sent over the internet. The age-old debate, gold versus Bitcoin. It's like asking which is heavier, a ton of bricks or a ton of feathers. It's the same, but not really. So where do we stand with the Bitcoin ETFs? Let's take a look at a few of the headlines. Bitcoin ETF approval demanded, and we we saw what happened with Gensler answering those questions, sidestepping, tap dancing, and the like. Crypto news, SEC still uncertain on Bitcoin ETFs. Cointelegraph, 5 lowlights of Gary Gensler's evasive testimony. And then, of course, we have Davidson calling for the firing of the SEC chair. Knock it off, Gensler. Cease and desist now. I mean, people are done playing games around here. And we showed you Gates earlier. You can't even bribe with the dollar because inflation's hitting harder than my grandma's shoe when I broke a vase. In short, these clowns continue to make a joke of themselves and the dollar and centralized institutions. And amidst the Bitcoin brawl, it looks like a shutdown is looming, but hey, Bitcoin's open 24/7. And just so you know, Ukrainians still get paid. So the priorities are completely in line.
There's a shutdown. U.S. government workers will not be paid, but Ukrainian workers will be paid by the U.S. taxpayer. There's nothing in the Constitution that allows for spending like this to another country. The spending clause in our Constitution says that Congress can spend according to its enumerated powers, the powers given to it by the Constitution, and also for the general welfare. So it's illegal for the U.S. government, if they want to give $100 billion to my state of Kentucky, they can't do it. That would violate the general welfare clause. What do you think it violates to send it to another country? Our framers never imagined in their worst nightmare that we would send that much money overseas. But it violates every precept of the Constitution, and I'm going to do everything I can to stop them from sending any more.
Some of the latest news is a development. Balchunas over at Bloomberg has reported that there is chatter that Gensler has taken an unusual step by reaching out to the issuers of the Spot Bitcoin ETFs, and this development is being viewed as good news. Positive sign. Let's see what happens. If you ask me, this is what's going on. Max nails it. They're shaking down BlackRock for more bribes. Just send Gary whatever he wants. Do it now, Larry. Oh, the Bitcoin ETF, the great SEC, maybe. But guys, will we ever see a Bitcoin ETF? Is Gensler the SEC's Tanya Harding? And can someone please tell Larry Fink to just pay the bribe? But hey, for now, folks, we're going to be watching, waiting, and always hodling. And guys, we know the history of statism is rife with the theft of people's personal property. If you want to protect your generational wealth and make sure that you're doing it the right way, remember, not your keys, not your cheese. The Bitcoin Way is your IT team in the Bitcoin world, and you can schedule a 30-minute call with them using the link below if you need help with wallet and nodes, no KYC purchases, and just in general best practices. They can get you started on your Bitcoin journey. Hey, be sure to like, share, subscribe, spread the sound money gospel, and tune in to Simply Bitcoin Live Monday through Friday. Set those notifications because Simply Bitcoin originals will be dropping every day as well, or highlights. We got content coming at you from every direction, and we're also covering all the breaking news on Twitter. So come join us there, get on the mission, and if you want to continue your journey down the rabbit hole, we got some more great content here for you. Man, it's been a wild week, and we got a lot of fun stuff coming for you this weekend. Stay tuned. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Peace.